Today, I'm gonna show you my well-tested recipe for dad ribs, which basically just means ribs that aren't smoked and instead cooked on a grill, usually by someone's dad, usually by a pool. My version cleans up all the technique faux pas dads make that lead to dry-ass ribs, and instead delivers a crowd-pleasing result that's unctuously tender and all slathered up in a sticky, sweet, homemade barbecue sauce. To get started, I'm gonna grab 2 large racks of St. Louis-style ribs. I like St. Louis ribs for this recipe for 2 main reasons. One, their form factor is really friendly for the grill. It's a really nice flat rib that's gonna get maximum contact with the grill grates, and it's gonna take on some really nice charring. And then the second reason is that the St. Louis style rib is cut from the lower section of the rib cage where all the pork belly meat is. So it's much more unctuous, much more fatty, and overall this type of meat is just much more resilient to high heat cooking. The top part of the rib section is where the baby back rib comes from, and that's a great rib as well, but there's a lot of pork loin meat in the mix there, which can get dried out because it's pretty lean. And baby back ribs have a lot of curve to them, and that's just a form factor that's pretty awkward for getting a nice char on the grill, and I don't love it. If all you have access to is baby backs, that's gonna give you a totally good result. Just know that the grilling part's gonna be a little bit annoying. Whether you're using St. Louis style or baby backs though, there is gonna be this membrane on the back that needs to get taken off, because no matter how gently or slowly we cook it, it's not gonna get broken down and it's gonna get really tough. So to do that, I'm gonna grab a dull knife, then I'm gonna slide it in at the bone, about 2 ribs from the end here, and then give it a little twist just to give it some space so I can actually get my finger under there. There we go. This looks disgusting. And then I'm just gonna slide my finger under to the end of the rib. And once I've got a little flap going on like this, I'm gonna grab some paper towel just so I can get a little bit of extra grip. I'll put my right hand on the rib, and then I'm just gonna pull this silver skin membrane down towards the other end to rip it off. Pretty easy. 86 that skin flap. And there we go, cleaned up rack of ribs. And once I've degloved the backside of this thing, I'm gonna take a knife and kind of just cut it at the halfway point. This just makes it much easier to grill later on, because if you were to throw the full 12 bone rib section on the grill, it's really tender, and when you try and flip it, eventually it's gonna get twisted and the meat's gonna start to shred apart and you're gonna have a big old mess. Then I'm gonna rip the back off the other set of ribs and try and find the middle point and just cut that in half. And there we go. And once I've got 4 sections of rib all cleaned up, I'm just gonna set those aside and then make a little dry brine. For that, I'm gonna combine 30 grams of salt with 15 grams of garlic powder and 15 grams of ground black pepper. That'll just get a quick stir to combine. By the way, I didn't put any sugar in this dry brine, even though I normally would for most recipes, just because these are gonna get lacquered up with a sweet barbecue sauce at the end, and we don't want gratuitous sweetness. Okay, once this is mixed up, I'm gonna grab a little platform here to get these ribs seasoned up. The idea is to basically use all of this dry brine. So for each rib section, we're gonna try and use about 1/4 of what we just mixed up. Be liberal, go on both sides as well, and any of the dry brine that kind of falls onto the background tray, you can come back, grab the rib section and kind of press it in just to make sure you're getting full coverage. Maybe a little bit more on the side and on the back here. Don't be shy. Kind of just eyeballing it for equal distribution, but that looks great. Even coverage, plenty of salt, plenty of pepper, and then a little bit of garlic powder to bring a little bit of an umami savory quality. And since I always use a coarse kosher salt, it just doesn't quite stick as good as the more powdery garlic and finer grind black pepper. So that's why it's necessary to kind of press the meat into the salt on the tray just to make sure that we're getting maximum adhesion. And once I've got all 4 racks of ribs dusted with the dry brine and set up on a wire rack so they've got a little bit of airflow, I'm gonna move the whole thing over to the fridge to dry brine or cure for at least 2 hours, but preferably 12 to 18 hours. I've said this many times on the channel in the past, but I'm gonna repeat it here. Adding salt to the outside of meat for an extended period of time does 2 very important things. 1, it makes the meat taste better because it seasons it much more thoroughly. And 2, it changes the protein structure of the meat so that meat holds on to much more water during cooking, which makes the eating experience much more juicy. That being said, if you don't plan ahead, you can certainly go from seasoning to oven right away. Just know that you're gonna be missing out on a pretty decent amount of quality and your ribs aren't gonna be as good. Okay, we'll check back tomorrow. The next day, I'm gonna pull these ribs out of the fridge and then immediately preheat my oven to 200 75 Fahrenheit. And as you can see, the ribs are already looking pretty delicious because the black pepper and the garlic powder have kind of fused to the outside of the meat during the dry brine. And we've allowed a little bit of that excessive pork juice that was in the packaging with the ribs to kind of evaporate. So things are just looking good and they're ready to be cooked. So from here, I'm gonna set up a double layer of paper towel. That's not paper towel, bro. That's, what is this called? This is aluminum foil. I've got a double layer of aluminum foil here. Then I'm gonna set the rib into the foil with the top side down or the rib side facing up. Then I'm gonna fold up the bottom, fold over the top, and then seal up the back. There we go. I like to wrap these with a double layer of foil just because as the ribs cook, the bone's gonna start to jut out. And if there was only a single layer, that bone would probably go right through the foil, which would allow a lot of the steam that we need to actually cook this pork meat evenly to escape, along with any delicious juices that the meat's gonna be kind of, I wouldn't say braising in, but cooking in inside the package. This just kind of keeps everything nice and contained. And once I've got all 4 racks double wrapped in foil like this, I'm gonna throw the whole thing into my preheated 275F oven, and I'm gonna cook it for 3 hours. That might seem like a really long time, but what I'm doing here is cooking this really gently and really slowly so that the collagen inside that meat converts to gelatin gently. The more gentle you do this, the more of that gelatin will stay in the meat. Why is this important? Well, if there's a lot of gelatin in the meat, not only is it gonna be very unctuous and very juicy, but it's gonna have a really nice structural integrity while being very tender at the same time. Of course, you could get to the perception of tender much quicker with a higher temperature and less time, but then when we go to put these ribs on the grill, the bones are just gonna fall out and the meat's not gonna have any structural integrity. So if we melt that collagen really slowly, we will have the perception of tenderness, but the bones will stay in and you'll have a much more meaty, delicious bite that has a much better texture. Get it? Okay, we'll check back in about 3 hours. Ooh, and after 3 hours, I'm gonna come back and rip these ribbies out of the oven and see how the meat's looking. To do that, I'm just gonna pull laterally in a couple of places with some forks to kind of probe and see how the meat fibers are holding themselves together. At this point, if I wanted to, I could pull this meat right off the bone and it would be pretty tender. It'd be very enjoyable, but it's not so tender that if I just grab one of the ribs, the bone is gonna slide right out. If you overcook the meat at this point, it's gonna be way too tender to get a nice char on the grill. And when all is said and done, the final texture is gonna be end up being too soft and it's not gonna have a meaty bite. And once we've determined that the ribs are cooked properly, I'm gonna wrap this package back up to trap as much residual heat as possible so that the ribs carry over cook the right amount. From here, I have to rest these ribs for at least 20 minutes. This is going to allow all of the cooking juices inside the meat to resettle, get reabsorbed, and kind of stabilize. If you were to put these on the grill right away, you'd save yourself some time, but all of those juices would get squeezed out, which would make the meat really freaking dry, and it would create a bunch of flare-ups that singes the meat and kind of burns it and just makes it taste bad. So don't do that. I'm gonna set that aside for 20 minutes, then I'm gonna make the barbecue sauce to glaze it up with. So for that, I'm gonna grab a little cutting board, and then I'm gonna grate this onion into a pulp. I like grating this instead of dicing it just because the onion cooks a lot faster and it melts into the background of the sauce so nothing stands out texturally. And the final sauce just ends up being a lot smoother. You kind of want to start with a nice big chunk so that when you get down to the bottom where it's just a couple of layers, you can just kind of throw it away. You don't have to force yourself to keep grating a smaller and smaller piece because that's how you lose a bunch of skin on the side of your thumb. And once I've got about 100 grams of onion grated, I'm just gonna run my knife through it 1 or 2 more times just to make sure that it's as pulpy and well broken down as humanly possible. When you do it like this, the onion cooks in less than 3 minutes, so it speeds up the entire recipe. And like I said, it totally melts into the background of the sauce. Onion pulp achieved. Next step. To make this into a small saucepan over medium heat, I'm gonna add a splash of oil. Then I'm gonna slide in my grated onion. Then I'm gonna add in 15 grams of minced garlic and jump in and give everything a quick stir. And then I'm gonna cook this over medium to medium-low heat to melt the onion until it's nice and soft and translucent, which is gonna take about 3 minutes or so. And if you're wondering about cooking this ahead of time or maybe making a large batch so you've got some in the fridge so you can have nice barbecue sauce that's been homemade for most of the summer, definitely yes. All we're doing here is basically combining a bunch of shelf-stable condiments with some spices in a way that's a bit better than the sum of its parts. It's very shelf stable and I really can't see it changing much, and it probably stays good for 6 to 8 weeks. And after 3 to 4 minutes of cooking over medium heat, you can see that the onion is turned translucent. It's actually taken on a little bit of color too, because I caught a little caramelization in the corners. That's totally fine as long as you deglaze it and get it up off the pan and into the onions. That's actually gonna add a little bit of flavor to the sauce. That's gonna be beneficial in my view. Next, I'll add in 250 grams of ketchup, then 100 grams of molasses, or if you don't have molasses on hand, you could sub in brown sugar and you'd get a pretty similar taste and result. Then I'll add in 30 grams of wort, 20 grams of hot sauce, 20 grams of apple cider vinegar, 20 grams of yellow mustard, and 5 grams of chili powder and 1 gram of cayenne pepper. Then I'm just gonna jump in and stir to combine and then cook things down for about 10 minutes or so, or until the sauce is reduced by about 20% and the onion is 100% soft and fully melted into the background. One thing to keep in mind though, over medium to medium low heat, this sauce is still gonna get pretty ploppy. Like you can see, I've got spots all around this burner here, and that's not ideal. It's basically hot sugar, and if you get that on your skin, it could burn you because that stuff stays hot for a while. As you can see, it's just like pop, pop. That's not great. So I'm gonna put a little lid on the side. I'm gonna put a lid, a jar on the handle for some support, and that's gonna allow reduction while also minimizing ploppage. I'll check back in 5 to 10 minutes. When I check back 5 to 7 minutes later and kill the heat, you can see that the sauce is thickened up a bit. The onions are totally melted into the background. When I pass a spatula through it, it leaves a bit of a trail. Also, I just wanna say that after reduction, this sauce is gonna be a little bit looser than the barbecue sauce that you've got in your fridge or sitting in the pantry at room temperature, just because as sugar cools, the sauce will tend to thicken up. So this will get thicker, it's just gonna take a minute. Flavor-wise though, it's got everything you want in a barbecue sauce. It's spicy, it's peppery, it's high acid, but in a balanced way, and it's got the perfect amount of sticky sweetness for me. It's kind of like a mixture between Sweet Baby Ray's and a really savory, oniony barbecue sauce like Open Pit. That's what I've designed it for, and I really think that it's gonna pair perfectly with these ribs. Okay, once my sauce is cooked and my ribs are fully rested, it's time to char them up and get them all lacquered with sauce. Now the step one to this entire process is to delay cooking outdoors until it's the absolute highest temperature of the entire day, preferably 95, 96 F, and also make sure that it rained all morning so that the humidity is nearly 100%. Just so you sweat through your shirt and this process is as painful as humanly possible. Once we're there, I'm gonna make sure my grill, which is preheated to high, gets sprayed liberally with pan spray or wiped with a bunch of olive oil. That also works. Since we're gonna be working with a lot of sugar in the sauce, we just wanna make as much of a non-stick coating as we can. Ooh, don't breathe that in. Next, I'm gonna take each rack of ribs, hit them with a light dose of pan spray, and throw them on the grill. We're gonna give these ribs a little bit of a char on the meat straight up with no sauce, just to get a little bit of extra flavor. Once the sauce is in play, burning becomes a real threat, so we just have to pay attention. I like to get a little bit of color up front here just to make them taste a little bit more grilled, a little bit more meaty. So we're gonna give these about a minute and a half or so. This grill's pretty hot, so we're not gonna need much more than that. After about 2 minutes over high heat, when I come back and take a look, ooh, you can see the pork is frying in its own fat. We've got some nice roasty color. We've got some nice grill marks, and that just looks absolutely filthy, dude. And it smells really peppery too. I love that. From here, I'm gonna grab that barbecue sauce that we just made, and I'm gonna slather these ribs up on the top side. By the way, if you guys don't have access to a grill like I do and you're just cooking indoors, you could throw these ribs under the broiler and get the sauce nice and sticky and charred up under that. It'll give you pretty good results. It won't be as good as they are on the grill, but they'll probably be like 8 out of 10 if these end up being like a 10 out of 10. Okay, once these are sauced up, I'm gonna close the lid and let that sauce get kind of sticky and reduced on the outside for about 60 seconds or so. This process is very forgiving. All we're trying to do here is get a little bit of char flavor and get the barbecue sauce stuck onto the meat. So you kind of wanna hover around it. Don't go too far because the meat can get dried out if you over grill it. This whole process should probably take no more than 6 or 7 minutes. If you go beyond that, you're really gonna get into the territory where the sugar is probably gonna get burnt and a lot of the juice in the pork is probably gonna get sizzled off. So just keep that in mind. And when I check back, The inside of the ribs should have taken on a little bit of color. And now I'm gonna flip these back onto the sugar side. And honestly, it never really hurts to hit these with a bit more pan spray just to be safe. Don't do it close like that though, because you could potentially blow up the can. Oh, do as I say, not as I do. There we go. You could brush some olive oil, that'd be a little bit safer. Once these are flipped over, you really gotta keep an eye on them because we got sugar exposed to high heat and that can go south pretty fast. So just use your spidey senses, use your nose too. That's gonna be a really good indicator of what's happening underneath. You will know right away if you smell caramelized sugar, and that's just a signal to come back and check. That being said, once these ribs are flipped and are on the sticky side, you wanna let them get exposed to the grill grates for at least a minute, because if you were to come back and try and flip them sooner, chances are it's gonna be pretty sticky. You need to just give it a little bit of time so that it actually releases from the grill. Okay, once I've got the backside slathered up like this, lid's gonna get closed, and we're gonna cook for maybe 90 seconds. At this point, I am getting a little bit of a caramelized sugar smell, so I'm just gonna come back and peek under this side here. Ooh! See, we've got some really nice grillage on the rib, and some of that, I wouldn't say burnt sugar, but we've got charred sugar. A little bit of that is a very good thing. That's actually what we wanna do out here. That's gonna give us that sort of summer dad barbecue taste. It's like just barbecue sauce that's been kissed with high heat. It's really divine. So from here, I'm just gonna lather on one more very generous layer of sauce on what I'm calling the top side. That's just the part where the majority of the meat is hanging out. I like to build that sauce up in 2 or maximum 3 layers because the first layer catches the char and reduces onto the meat, and then the second layer reduces on top of that, and that's where you get that sticky exterior that kind of sticks to your fingers, sticks to your lips, and it gives you that S-tier glaze that we're looking for when it comes to a barbecue dad rib. And after about 8 minutes in total, that second round of sauce has totally reduced onto the rib. They're super shiny, they're perfectly lacquered. Ooh, and they smell really porky too. So from here, I'm gonna carefully take these off the grill. Again, if we had cooked these more in the oven at this point after being rendered on the grill for 10 more minutes, the ribs would start to fall apart and they'd be a real pain in the butt to get inside. But at this point, you can see that they've got a little bit of a flop to them. That's how I know once I cut them, the meat is gonna come right off the bone in my mouth and not on the plate. That's what we're looking for. So let's go back inside. Ooh, I am moist all over, but it was worth it. Look at these ribs, guys. Look at that rib. Oh my gosh. Oh, it smells so good. It smells just like summer. Now the final little step is to just glaze these one more time with the sauce, just to make them extra sticky. So you have to eat them with a wet nap. That's what we're looking for. These ribs are messy. They should be all over your cheeks and fingertips and on your shirt and maybe possibly in your bed later. That's how you know you did it right. Man, that's special. That's a sculpture of summertime cooking right there. Now the best way to cut these to keep the meat still attached to the bone is to flip them over so that the bottom side is facing up, and then find the rib section and cut right through. The knife's just going through like butter too, so I can tell that these are super tender. Look at that rib. That's juicy. It's glistening with pork fat too. Now let's take a bite. Wow. First of all, it's texturally perfect. When I took a bite, the meat pulled away from the bone into my mouth and left behind a clean result. That means that when I'm chewing it, the meat is shredding in my mouth and releasing all of those unctuous fatty juices, and it just makes the experience so special. If the meat falls off the bone before you get to it, then you're just eating pulled pork. It's a different thing. To have a bone in your hand, to pull the meat off and then have it give you its gift while you're chewing it is just peak meat. The sauce is perfectly sweet. It's a little bit peppery. It's a little bit spicy. There's just enough acid in there too to cut through the richness of the pork. You get the black pepper and the garlicky, savory quality from the rub. And it really just comes together into what I think is one of the best summertime meat experiences you could possibly have. It's up there with like a juicy hamburger in terms of how much I crave this and how many times per summer I want to eat this. I really hope you guys give it a try because it's not hard, it's mostly passive, and the results are truly S tier. As always, if you want to make this recipe, which I really think you should, I'll throw a short version in the description, along with a link to a much longer, more detailed, comprehensive version over at my blog, brianlagerstrom.com. As always, guys, thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video, and I'll see you next time.